Hey friends, welcome back to Food Prep Guide. If you've been staring at your grocery receipt lately, wondering what just happened, you're not alone. Or maybe your utility bill jumped 30%. Maybe your grocery budget is suddenly 70% less, and you're scrambling to figure out what to do about it. Here's what I want you to know. You're not failing, the game has changed. And a lot of families are quietly struggling right now trying to hold it together while everything around them gets more expensive. So I want to share some practical ways to save. But first, I want to emphasize, and this is important, living frugally doesn't mean living poor. It doesn't mean you are cheap, and it doesn't mean you never invest in anything. Frugality may have been a decades-long lifestyle for you, though I'm sure there's at least someone watching this video today, and you find yourself thrown feet first and forced into frugality, and you're not 100% sure where to start. I want to help you with that today, and I hope to offer a few tips to even you seasoned frugal lifestylers. To start, let me define frugal from my point of view. If you've ever felt like frugal living is about deprivation, restriction, or eating ramen every night while you stare longingly at things you can't have, we need to flip that script in our minds. Frugal living is more about being intentional with your purchases and making sure every dollar you spend serves a bigger picture of becoming more self sufficient, more resilient, and just more free, and more detached and unaffected by outside influences beyond your control. So let's talk about what frugal living really looks like and some actionable steps to make it joyful. So, first, we need to talk about the difference between frugal and cheap because they are not the same thing. Cheap means obsessing over spending the absolute least no matter what. It's short term thinking. It's buying the $20 pair of shoes that fall apart in 3 months, then buying another $20 pair, and then another $20 pair, and ending up spending way more over time. Frugal means focusing on value and long term thinking and making sacrifices in different areas so that you can afford to invest in quality. It might be buying those $80 pair of shoes because they are going to last you 7 to 10 years. That's less than $1 a month for quality shoes that support your feet properly. And here's some somewhat kind of painful way to think about it, but it illustrates the point. Cheap people often save money at other people's expense. Frugal people never do. The cheap person won't tip the server or make someone feel uncomfortable while saving a few dollars. The frugal person brings snack from home when they go out and saves money without negatively affecting anyone else and tips generously when they do splurge. One more example, a cheap person buys the lowest quality appliance available, ignores the bad reviews, and ends up replacing it 3 times in the next 5 years. A frugal person researches energy efficiency, reads reviews, waits for a sale, or searches for that specific model in a thrift store, and buys a quality appliance that saves money on electricity for the next 15 years. Frugality is strategic. Being cheap is short-sighted. So frugality is strategic. I want to say that again. Being cheap is short-sighted. Now, one more note I want to make before sharing some practical ideas, and this is perhaps the most powerful part of being frugal. If you hear nothing else in this video, hear this. Frugal living means you need less money to be secure. If your monthly expenses are, say, $1,500 instead of $3,000, your emergency fund goes twice as far. Therefore, you're more resilient to things like health issues, job loss, unexpected home repairs, economic changes, all of it. Okay, now let's get into the practical stuff. Food is probably your biggest monthly expense after housing, which means it's your biggest opportunity. So one tip I want to share is once a month shopping. This might sound counterintuitive, but shopping once a month saves more money than shopping weekly because it forces you to be intentional. You plan your meals first, make your list second, and then shop your pantry and freezers before going to the store. Here's just a quick overview of how to do that. You want to plan your meals that need fresh ingredients for weeks 1 and 2, and then use frozen vegetables and longer-lasting produce in your shelf-stable goods for weeks 3 and 4. Keep a few convenience meals on hand for those rough days, and we all have them. An $8 frozen pizza beats $40 takeout every time. Okay, so don't beat yourself up over grabbing that frozen pizza, please. Now, number 2, bulk buying in a way that makes sense. You want to buy your staples in bulk: rice, beans, pasta flour, sugar, honey, oats, and so on. These last essentially forever when stored properly. For meat, you can buy that in bulk too. You can ask your grocery store manager about bulk discounts or even do something like split a quarter cow with another family. You can pre cook and freeze ground beef or shredded chicken in meal sized portions, cook it all at once, portion it out, and you've created your own convenience food at a fraction of the cost. Or, friends of the channel, you know this, you can can that meat instead so that it sits safely on your shelf and isn't at risk if the power goes out. Speaking of which, let's talk about food preservation skills. Learning to preserve food is a game changer for self sufficiency. Here's one quick example. You'll buy strawberries when they're cheap in June or grow them yourself. Freeze them, make jam, dehydrate them. Now you have strawberries all year at peak season prices. You don't need fancy equipment to start. As you build skills, you can add canning, dehydrating, fermenting, all methods that let you take advantage of seasonal abundance. And this is one of those examples where being frugal doesn't mean you don't invest. A good quality dehydrator and or canner will save you a ton of money over the coming decade by reducing food waste and lowering your grocery budget. Next, I want to talk about grow something, anything. Even if you just have a windowsill, grow some herbs. A basil plant costs $3 and gives you fresh basil for months instead of buying those $4 plastic containers that go bad in days. And a lot of times, they don't even taste all that good. If you have a balcony, try container gardening like tomatoes and peppers. If you have a yard, plant that garden. We have an entire playlist on the channel dedicated to teaching you how to grow food. I'll link it in the description box below. Growing your own food isn't just about saving money, it's about that resilience that we talked about earlier. You're developing a skill that creates ongoing value, you're building food security, and you're making yourself less dependent on the powers that be. Next, I want to talk about practical ideas in the form of home skills. These are the skills that save money over time. Number one, cooking from scratch. This is the single most impactful skill you can develop, in my opinion. Homemade bread costs about 50 cents a loaf as opposed to $3 to $5. And make your own mixes at home in jars. Pancake mix, baking mix, taco seasoning, ranch dressing mix. All of these things take minutes to prepare and save you from buying overpriced packaged versions that probably have ingredients you really don't want to be feeding your family. We just released our Mix and Jars cookbook and it is loaded with just add liquid recipes. Comment Frugal if you want that link. It'll also be in the description box. Okay, number two, basic sewing and mending. This extends the life of your clothes dramatically. A quick stitch saves you from replacing clothes that just needed a small repair, and you don't need a sewing machine. A needle, thread, and YouTube will get you going. Number three is DIY cleaning and personal care products. You'd be amazed at how much vinegar, baking soda, and Castile soap can handle like almost every cleaning job for pennies. A bottle of concentrated soap lasts months for a family when you dilute it properly. We buy ours a gallon at a time and make most of our cleaning products from it. Okay, now I want to talk about when to invest in quality. So remember, frugal doesn't mean cheap. Now, before we dig into this section, I am not trying to tell you how to spend your money. I am sharing my perspective on how I have shifted the way that I spend money in pursuit of frugality, which remember is really a pursuit of freedom. So here are some examples of where I invest. I invest in quality if it's something you use every day and it benefits you in some way. Kitchen tools, mattress, shoes. Also, when safety is involved, things like car maintenance and fire alarms. Something that lasts for decades. The first thing that comes to mind is cast iron cookware and like all-clad stainless steel cookware or extremely durable clothing. Also, I invest if it develops skills or increases income. This can be education, it can be good tools for your trade. And by the way, developing skills and increasing income often go hand in hand. You just have to be a little creative. Now, here are some examples where I choose to save money. If it's an item I rarely use, I'll rent it, DIY it, or buy an extremely budget version, or just go without it. Figure out another way. Also, if it's disposable by nature, I try not to spend money on things that were only ever intended to be single use or only last for one cycle, whatever that cycle may be. Also, I choose to save money if there's no significant quality difference. Think about the basic staples at the store. More often than not, there is very little difference between name brand and generic. Now, another tip that I want to share is getting your family on board. This doesn't really work if you're the only one trying. So make it a team effort. Have a family budget meeting every month. I know that sounds super boring, but make it fun. You can totally not make it boardroom boring. You can frame it positively. You are working towards goals together. Maybe it's paying off debt or buying land. And it gives everyone ownership. Let children have input on meals, involve them in gardening, cooking, even preserving food. When they understand why you're making these choices, they're more likely to embrace them. And use empowering language. Don't say, no, we can't afford that. Say, we're choosing to spend our money on blank right now because we're saving for blank. That just kind of shifts the mindset from scarcity to intentionality. And then don't forget to celebrate progress. When you hit milestones or achieve self sufficiency goals, celebrate together. Make frugal living something you're proud of because, again, it's actually a step toward freedom. Now, here's where frugal living gets really exciting. If you maintain a frugal lifestyle and then invest the difference, you're building truly financial freedom. The beautiful part about frugal living is that it reduces both sides of the equation. You save more money because, and that accelerates your timeline, and you need less total savings because your expenses are lower, which reduces your target. And during your season of living frugally, no matter how long it lasts, I guarantee you will discover something a little unexpected. You're happier. You're more focused on what matters. You have less financial stress. You're more connected to your family and your food and your skills. And that's the paradox. The non frugal person often spends more, saves less, works longer, and often isn't any happier. Meanwhile, you're living intentionally, building skills, creating resilience, and accelerating toward freedom. Now, you don't have to do everything at once. Pick one area and start there. Maybe this week you cancel one unused subscription or learn one new skill. Maybe it's sewing a button. Make one cleaning product or start one herb plant on your windowsill. Then maybe later this month, maybe you implement some meal planning changes. Or maybe you call one service provider to negotiate a lower plan. Businesses absolutely do this, and you can be amazed at how much you can save. The families who've achieved remarkable self sufficiency didn't do it overnight. They did it over years, one step at a time. They prioritized freedom over consumption, skills over stuff, and values over social pressure. Always keeping in mind that building resilience gives you options when life gets hard. Okay, friends, that is all for today. Now go build your dream life with intention. Bye.